Recorded forever. All right, we're live. Missing one. I don't know where she is, but welcome to So What Do You Know About Business episode. I'm bad at this. 23, I think. 3, 4. Anyway,
20.
I'm sorry. I'm Erin Smith. I'm your host, and this is the podcast. This is Happy Hour. It's 5 o'clock here in Dallas, Texas, or it's basically happy hour everywhere. And this is where we talk business, lessons learned in business, and we're just 5 women entrepreneurs typically. We're missing a few tonight, where we just talk about lessons learned and how growing a business, some of us are growing a family or just growing a life, how it all works together. Yay, Taylor is here. All right. So this is the portion, since it is happy hour, we don't require cocktails, we just encourage them, where we go around and tell everybody what we're drinking. So, Andrea, I'm going to go with you first tonight.
Excellent. I'm Andrea Trevelyan with TakeASmartStep.com. I help small businesses figure out how to not work as much and make more money. And today I am drinking, I'm very slowly going to raise it up. I am drinking! It is a strawberry basil margarita.
Andrea, I swear to God, I'm going to start coming to your house. Like, it's ridiculous. You have such great stuff. I don't even have ice in my house, and you've got like these crazy, ridiculous cocktails. So anyway, Chandra, I'm up to you next.
Hi, I'm Chandra Achberger. You can find me at chandrainc.com. I am drinking water again because I am not under 200 pounds. I'm going the opposite way in the thing. So I have accelerated my diet plan and have cut out all carbs, and next step will be coffee, but we're not there yet. But I really want to drink, but I have 20 pounds to go. So everyone knows my weight. I don't care, but I would really like to pop up one Thursday and be like, hey, y'all, this is my drink. But I have done lots of things in life. Pursuing artist right now, but I have consulted many people on websites and the such. Used to build e-commerce solutions, so that's going to come in handy a little bit later in our show.
Very great segue. All right, Taylor, you're up.
Okay, I am made it in the nick of time. I am doing this thing called oil pulling, and I just like had some oil in my mouth. I had to spit it out really fast. Hence, I didn't have time to get a drink. But look it up. Oil pulling, really good benefits, health benefits, everything. Maybe Chandra, it would be good for what you're doing. I am a freelance copywriter and marketer, as well as pursuing dance and acting in LA. Catch me on Twitter at TaylorJoy315.
Awesome. So I'm going to go off on a super quick tangent here because I am obsessed with coconut oil. Like,
yeah.
So that's what oil pulling is you swish it in your mouth. So I oil pull, I use it for makeup remover, I moisturize with it, I use it for shaving cream. You can use it for diaper. I mean, I like buy it by the tub. And JJ you can use it for deodorant. You mix it with baking soda. It works better than any other deodorant. Like, JJ teases me and he calls me a granola, but I tell him I can't be a granola because I'm shaving with it. So it doesn't quite work that way.
So how do you do, because I've been dying to do natural deodorant. I think you cut out. What do you say? How do you use it?
So you just I was going to say, go ahead, Chandra.
I will post my absolute favorite recipe. I used to have a lotion body care company. So
yes, so I can't think.
Oh, no, it's like it is the best. It is. I mean, mainly it's coconut oil and baking powder and a couple of other things, but it is honestly 10 times better than any store-bought deodorant that you will ever use. And especially, I mean, I know you're not a mama, but like after you become a mama, your total body chemistry changes and nothing works, and it's totally natural and there's no aluminum in it. But I will post my favorite recipe that sold very well for me in the group. If anybody wants to have that, head on over and sign up for the group.
No, for sure, because and that is over at bit.ly/KNOW business. So come over to the group and join us. But I actually I want the recipe because right now I just take coconut oil and baking soda and I rub it under there, and I like CrossFit and everything, and I can stink. I really can. It's not like I can get out of this. I can if I want to, but it is. I never do with that stuff. Like, it's pretty amazing. So anyway, while it's a good thing to know in business in case you're going to meetings or anything. You never know. But I moisturize with my face, or you take a sonic brush with coconut oil, and your face is like a baby's butt. I'm not kidding. Like, it's ridiculous.
This is going to turn into the beauty show. So you you should not wash your face with soap at all. You shouldn't use soap on your skin. I know it's hard for all of us to like really understand that. But if you use coconut oil as your soap, and then you have that the brush, the micro brush, or a washcloth even in the shower, but like your face skin is so sensitive, it makes a huge difference, and there's total antiseptic qualities to coconut oil, so it's 10 times better, and oil begets oil instead of soap. You know how sometimes you use certain soaps and your face gets 10 times oilier? It doesn't happen with coconut oil, because it destroys all the oil itself. Like, water doesn't do anything to oil, but oil can dissolve other oil. So it's healthier.
Okay. If you didn't learn anything in the first 5 minutes of this podcast, something's wrong with you. Like, God, just when I didn't think I could love coconut oil anymore, Chandra just made me fall in love with it even harder. I thought I was kind of being bad I just knew it felt really good and my wrinkles were going away. But that's good to know. Plus, it's all natural.
You shouldn't scrub all the time.
No, I only do it every other day.
Yeah, but if you switch out your soap for coconut oil, you will see a huge difference in your skin.
Okay. You can use it as lubricant too, in case you guys ever have sex. I'm not married, so I'm not having sex, but I hear people.
Good God Almighty.
Anyway, all right. So I'm Erin Smith. Sorry, this totally got off course very fast, but I am with the Starters Club. I'm drinking Starbucks. I'm going to meet a friend out tonight, so I have to be very cautious of how much I drink. And we have a specific topic we're going to talk about tonight, which I'm really excited about because I think it's really going to be an important one. But before we get into that, I just wanted to go off on a really quick tangent because I needed to hear this today, so I would think somebody else is going to get some value out of it. But I went to 10X back in November, and we have a Facebook group for all of us there. So it's a group of, like, you know, people who have done well in business at one point or another typically. And I posted in there today, and I said, hey guys, I'm getting ready to do another launch of my starters course, and it's a really great group because nobody spams. It's truly about everybody helping each other, which is very hard to find in a Facebook group. And I said, you know, everybody's been launching because everybody's helping each other. I said, since you've launched, can you give me, like, let's talk about lessons learned. Just trying to take a moment to, what would you do different? What did you learn? What did you know, all this stuff. And it was awesome to see that there was not one person who launched that said, I wish I would have done, who didn't say I wish I would have done, they all said I wish I would have done better. I'm trying to figure out how to word that. Like, everybody was disappointed in, you know, they thought they were going to do better. They thought they knew it was going to be, and it was just like a very refreshing moment because everybody expects to be further than they are. I think that's the hardest thing. We all see, we look sideways and we see people probably not telling the full truth, and so we compare ourselves to that, beat ourselves up. Are we doing enough? Are we doing enough? And it was so refreshing to see all these people say, you know, I keep beating myself up, wish I would be more, wish I could do more. So you're not alone if you're beating yourself up. And the second thing one of the girls said that just really hit home, and she's like, I had to tell myself, because she's crazy successful outside of these launches. She just launched for the first time, and she's like, I'm creating a movement, and if I'm going to reach more people, this is a movement, and it's not going to happen overnight, and I can't expect these things to happen. So it was a really, really awesome conversation. It was just, I know for me, it was like, okay, good. I'm not the only one who beats myself up like, oh, I got to be further. I got to be more. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with everybody because I'm sure there's someone listening, you know, upset that they didn't do enough in something that they did, but you're fine. Just don't quit. Keep going. So just wanted to share that. But tonight we've got a topic. I'm going to let Chandra started to lead in a little bit before we went off on coconut oil. And I think this is one thing I'm crazy passionate about because I feel like a lot of people invest hard-earned money and they get, I don't want to use the term ripped off as harsh, but taken advantage of might be a little harsh. But Chandra, I'm going to have you talk about, we were talking about this before the call, and just I want to have this an open conversation about what to expect in situations like this, and A, how to avoid them, and then B, how to handle them if you get caught in this. So I'm giving it to you, Chandra.
Hey, so I've spent years and years. Basically, I used to build e-commerce solutions for bigger companies, and then I went into designing and developing my own websites and for people, and then consulting. So I've seen a lot of different levels of businesses over the years, and people at different spots. So once you, a lot of time, and a lot of misconceptions about the web in general is that it's just like you build the website, and if you get a nice design, you get a nice design, or you invest a little bit of money, and then everything is going to be perfect. And then also with picking, there's always a lot of issues of not choosing a design, or choosing a designer and not a web developer, and vice versa. Like it's really important when you get to the point of you're ready to invest on a website for your business. You're ready. You're not doing the DIY anymore, or you're doing. You want to be able to update your site, but you want a design and a cohesive brand and all these things. So when you're looking for a developer, one, to also ask a web designer if they develop also, because sometimes a person is just a designer, and sometimes a person is just a developer, and sometimes people do both. But it's really important that there is a learning aspect that's tied into their contract with you. So it's really important that you ask them, like, what's the time, like with your investment, what's the time that they're going to take to teach you, or what's the framework that you want it to be put on. There are all these things that need to happen. That's the base, because just a pretty looking website, you're not going to be able to do anything with it if the foundation is not right for you. And there's a million different ways to do the same thing, and I've just run into lots of panicking. I've seen in groups, and I've seen all over the place, people panicking about things that are going on their websites that they thought were all set and ready to go, and they're really not, because you can't. The solution doesn't work for you because you can't update it or do anything else. So you just really need to ask a person that you're hiring a couple of questions, and know that they're not building you something that you can't update and fix. If they're basically update, because all of us don't have somebody that we can hire just full time to take care of our online presence, right? Like none of us are CEOs of like Fortune 500 companies. So you need to ask them basically, okay, what do I need to do before they hand you off the keys to your brand new site? You need to know how to be able to do certain things and be fully comfortable with that, and that should be included with the whatever price that you paid for your website. And I just see too many people just kind of left in the dust and having to redo a lot of stuff. So I don't know if there's any questions in particular you would like me to.
Well, I think one is like, what should you expect from customer care? And I guess this is probably going to vary on who you hire, but if you find something down the line, and I saw this come up of a whole responsive thing, the Google thing that's coming down about needing to be responsive, and what do you do if you thought something was the way it was supposed to be and it wasn't? Should they take care of it? Is it after a certain point they're like, not my problem,
Well, it depends. So like if you're on WordPress or anything that has plugins, with the responsive in general, so everybody should be looking to have a responsive site, period, right? Like you should not be getting anything that's designed that's not responsive because so many people go on the web with their phone, and if you don't know what that is, it just means your site shrinks down with whatever the screen size is. So if you're looking at it on your phone or you're looking at it on your iPad, you don't have to scroll around the page to read it. It just shrinks down to that. And and Google is constantly changing, so I don't want to say it should be forever, or it should be for a year, or every developer is different. However, if something is truly not, like, if you asked for something at get-go, right? Like before you started your contract with this developer or designer or both or team, and that was on your list of things, I would say within a year, just be like, okay, can you look this over and tell me why Google's telling me this is not responsive? Because it might not be the site itself, it might be a plugin, it might be, because any plugin that wasn't updated, it could be that. So there's a lot of moving parts. However, if you're in good standing with your developer and your designer, like, you should be able to have open conversations with them and just be like, hey, just look it over. Can you look this over? Because it's just not, it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, But from the get-go, it should be, yes, you should definitely check. Like, as soon as they're like, okay, we're done, it should be responsive. It just has to be. There shouldn't be, and photographers, I've worked with a lot of photographers, no flash on your site. Like, you just can't have flash because that's not responsive. And a lot of people, older designers, find that easier to work with, so they'll put that up there. So it's just, you might test it throughout the year, and Google does change a lot, but I would say first form of communication should be with the designer, and just be like, hey, this is what's happening. They might have an easy response for you, and if they don't and they're a jerk, then I would say, word of mouth is still, like, it spreads a lot faster now that there's internet.
Bash them all over social media.
That's
what's tough, though, is like about and Andrea, I see you. But it's like tough because, like, there's no Yelp or anything for web designers, and it's such a field where you see people, or a lot of times there's a lot of people who, there you go, business idea, but a lot of people who are, it's a very small world in the web world or the online world, and it's like when somebody's pretty popular, or they have a lot of friends, you don't want to be the jerk that comes in and like, well, that person sucks, so it's a hard. But Andrea, go ahead, I saw you were going to talk.
I had a lot of things to say, but I think with the mobile responsive, the easiest way to check is just grab your phone, pull up your site. If you can read it, you're good. If you can't, you got an issue. But then I also think, it's not, like, I don't think you should feel bad if it happens to you, because I think it happens across all levels. So you can get, screwed over by the $200 guy and the $10,000 guy. And I have heard of, companies that make millions, multiple employees having really bad web experiences. And then I've heard of the small guy having really bad experiences and great experiences. So I really don't think it's something that, like, as a small business owner, you should go, oh my God, I did this so horribly, because it happens. And I think, you can go back to your designer if you're having problems, but I also think, if you had communication issues before, that it might be time to cut ties. Like, if there's enough instances of, you said this, they gave you this, you went back and asked for this, they gave you this. Like, at some point you have to go, all right, I'm done. I'm moving on to somebody who can cooperate and understand me.
I totally agree with you. It just sucks when you have to do that. Go ahead, Taylor.
Oh, I was going to say, for the person that this totally relates to today, and this is a problem they're struggling with, and they are getting frustrated with their site, and it went down, whatever happened, a catastrophe, where would you, as, like an expert in this, Chandra, or any of you, I guess, where would you recommend for someone to find a legitimate web designer where they won't get, like, ripped off and all of that stuff?
That's real. I mean, it is really hard. There is no Yelp, and I seriously want to make one now, because that is
So we know what you're doing tonight?
Yeah, well, I'm actually building another app that came to my mind the other day. Right now, I'm learning how to code an app, which you guys will get to test first because it has to do with challenges. So I think you guys will really like it. But a word of mouth. But I guess so off the bat, like pulling somebody offline is not gonna. It's not gonna do. I mean, word of mouth. I would say number one. See if you'd like somebody. Somebody has a lot of good testimonials and what have you. But I would say the number one factor, and this takes time, is your consult. If you find a web designer and developer or both, right? Let's just say developer and include everybody for this because the foundation of the site needs to be the most important part. You can make things look pretty afterwards, but I think a lot of times we get lost on that part. We see people that can make really pretty sites, but the back end is just a total god-awful mess. And I mean, like it's possible to have both. Like I do both because I love to code and stuff, but it's rare that you find somebody that's good at both web development and design. So I would say, if you like somebody that can really make something look pretty, I would hire them, and as far as just a designer who can make you a pretty PDF, basically, and then take that PDF to a web developer who has good reviews and make a theme out of that. And that would be my number one suggestion with that. And then with any of these people, and it has to do with branding as well, right? If you want something to be you want things to be cohesive brand, so that with whoever you're meeting for your online presence, you want there to be a thorough consult, like so that they know what you want, and it should take at least an hour. There should be an hour questioning of you guys going back and forth to see if you can work together. They should be asking you a lot of questions. Like I know I have this questionnaire that I used to have just for people that wanted logos, and most people would just not even answer back and I knew that they weren't there yet in their business where they could hire me to design their logo for them, because it was just, and it wasn't even price wise. It was just like they couldn't answer these 20 questions, right? Like, because they didn't know. They just wanted somebody to. So just do it, make it look pretty, and then everything will be okay. So I would say just make sure that there's a consult, and I would say more so, like, if you find, it just depends. I mean, you like Andrea said, you can find somebody who's just starting out who can build a site for you for like $200, and it can be awesome, and then just have a designer and pay a little bit, have a designer go in there and make it look pretty. Or you can have it's like building a house, like, or contractors. Like, you always hear contractors are the worst, right? Contractors are the worst, but like, some are okay, and it just depends on who they're building for. So like, if you have somebody who's used to building sites, we're talking about 5,000 to 10,000 range for just a regular site. When you're in that range, I would say you should have an in-depth consult, and they should, like I said, like, there should be some learning aspect in there. Like, there should be some give and flow. If they can't teach you, then have somebody else. But like, when somebody leaves you with a site, they should be leaving you with you being able to, with a solution, right? Like, you pay somebody to give you a solution, it should be a solution and not over that. But gosh, Yelp for designers and developers, huh?
Well, and I think,
Yeah.
like, I always tell people who are like looking at financial products, like, if somebody's telling you they're experts in a zillion things, then that's a giant red flag. So if you're, talking to somebody and they're like, I'm branding, I'm designer, I'm developer, and they don't have a legitimate 30-person team behind them, and you're not being passed from department to department, you have to stop and really ask, okay, are they really experts? And I always say, okay, so you're shopping for insurance. Are you going to go to your guy who specializes in stocks? No, because they're not the same. They're not the same thing. So that's one kind of guide that somebody's like, I can do it all. Like, run from that person unless they've got a legit company behind them.
Yeah, well, I mean, just because I am a one-stop shop, but like I know that I am a rarity. Like,
that's what I was gonna say, but you're unique.
I am.
Chandra's an rip-off artist. What the hell? Did not
All right,
know
so
this.
Chandra, so you're unique. Like, how would you honestly tell somebody, like, you're off the market, and you're that unique person? Like, what do you say are the biggest red flags? Like, what are the top 3 biggest red flags?
I'd say that is a red flag. I wouldn't so much say team. I would say when you are having that consult, I would really, really look for them asking you more questions than having answers to. Like, the person on the other end should be like really asking you a lot of questions before they say, hey, I can do that, because they have no idea, right? Like, and a lot of times, especially when these people are starting out, they will undercharge you for the amount of time that it really takes to put in. So, I mean, there is that, pricing factor, and that's why so many, I mean, I think more so many just get burned out, because there is a lot of work that goes into the back end. But so you should be looking to have them ask you a lot of questions, and the really good people will they will kind of ask you to not so much. They will see if other solutions will work before they do, right? Not so much dropping you off. Like, they will just see and be like, hey, why aren't you choosing this solution, right? Like, I would ask somebody and be like, wouldn't this would be much easier for you in the long run and probably cheaper, but it would just take more time. So why would you not choose this? And then you would come back to me and be like, hey, look, I just want this done by somebody who knows how to do this, this, and this. This is the solution that I want. And and there's kind of this give and take, and that's how you know whether somebody's going to be a good fit or not. It's not just somebody who has like things checked off on their resume and says, hey, I'm great at this, right? Like, if they're not, the solution is so specific to the person, to the business, that there has to be a ton of questions that comes from the developer and from the designer. Like, they should be asking you a lot of questions. And if you don't know the answers to those questions, then they know also that you're not ready to actually build this, or you need to answer those questions first before you even start on that section.
All right, so here's a question. So you get through all that. You've had an awesome conversation. You've had a great consult. They're asking you all the right questions. You sign a contract. Then things start to fall apart. The communication drops off. They're off on their own little world. It's kind of like they did it all up front, and then now it's like,
down on the artist, man. Down on the artist.
What do you do then? So you thought you did all your pre-front work and you were super thorough. What do you do next?
You're in contract with a person, and I would just say, like, you really just need to. You are paying them to do what you want them to do, and if there might be a reason behind why what you think you need isn't great, but they should be explaining that to you, right? And just be like, this is why I think this is a better solution for you. And if they can't do that, then it's time to be like, hey, I'm happy to the time that you've spent on this, let's take that out, and then we can part ways or whatever. But like, pretty early on, if you see there's misfires in communication and things are going on without, like, the way you want it, the way you want the solution, and it ends up not being a solution because you guys are, going this way. So if you see that red flag, or you feel, follow your gut. It sounds very woo-woo-y, but like, you follow your gut. When things start going awry, like, we know we're women. We're awesome at stuff like this. We really are. We are good. Our intuition is really good. We just have learned for years and years to shut it out and be like, all right, no, this person must know more than me. But like, follow your gut and be like, hey, and not be afraid to like just say something. Just be like, hey, this isn't working out the way it's going, so we need to sit down, have another talk, and work it out, or let's just cut this before you spend too much time and I'm not and nobody's happy, right? Like, because I like getting paid. I like money, right? But I don't like getting paid for something that's not a solution, right? And I think most people are most stand-up designers and developers are like that as well. They just don't know, or sometimes they have this very much idea of like, I know what you need better, right? And if it's not, like, if you sense that going on, you to be like, well, I don't understand why you're doing this, and can you please explain why you think that's a better solution than my solution, right?
Okay,
Or
so
what I want.
I have a follow-up question. Sorry, I'm hogging the question stage.
If that doesn't work, you flash some tires and you get your bottle and you.
I got a guy who knows a guy. If you need something,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, so let's say, because there is a difference between designing and developing, let's say you go with somebody who kind of does both, but maybe not the branding, whatever. You're seeing stuff. You're just seeing the design. You have no clue, because you're not a designer or developer, how the back end is actually getting set up.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way during the process, because my limited technical experience, they build the site basically on a completely different site and then move it over to you when it's done. How do you know the backside is done right?
There are. So this is hard, but there are. I will post to the group. There are links that you can see if a site is bloated, like if the coding is all just bloated and there's just a lot going on there. But mainly, if it doesn't work, is pretty huge on that. But there's no way to like really sit there with a fine-tooth comb unless it doesn't work. I mean, I would suggest, especially like if you're doing custom site, getting a custom site, be on WordPress. I mean, I know a lot of people like Squarespace. I just don't have the knowledge on that, and I found it. I did try it for a couple of years ago when they first came out, just to see, if it would be a good solution for customers. So I'd say WordPress, and then like know the framework that you want it to be on. And a lot of people out there might not know about frameworks, but I highly recommend Genesis. Because of a lot of this back-end stuff is, it's there, right? Like these plugins are already there, and you don't have to worry about it, especially as this in-between level that's not, you're not this huge website, right? You just have your WordPress site, and then it can kind of take care of itself. So like, you choose the framework that's best for you, and you can just look that up, framework, and then and what a lot of other designers are kind of suggesting at the time, because this does change over time. It used to be that like Thesis was this huge, and they were great because they took care of a lot of things. And now, in the past 4 years, it's changed over to Genesis has just become like really, really huge. And I as a developer designer really recommend Genesis for anybody who wants a good framework that's easy to understand. So like, you really just, there's no way of knowing whether the back end is like, you're not a coder, right? Like you don't know that. But if it doesn't work and it's just bloated, then you might you want to know your framework going in. And I highly recommend Genesis. So without getting into, like, we can start talking about HTML5, y'all, if you want to, and CSS, but I'm guessing that's very boring.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's part of it is like letting go of like some of these things. Like it's not gonna be, it's not gonna be perfect, and things do change over time. But yeah, these like basic things that you need to build a site on. So like I would suggest WordPress, I would suggest Genesis, and I would suggest a long consult with a developer, web designer who asks you a lot of questions and who you feel like you can communicate with, because it's not just, websites are not one and done. They're just not, and a lot of people think they're just easy and you just drop and go, and it's on the internet, so it's fast and it's easy, and if I pay this amount of money it's going to be perfect, and it's not going to be. So
Well, and one of the questions I have is like, I wonder how many of these conversations happen with coaches nowadays. Like everybody's a coach, and you hear those horror stories. But I think second, I want to point out, and this was almost like what we had when we were talking about my book, getting the book and figuring out, getting people to help me with certain things. We have a right, and I know, especially women, and especially me, like I feel funny, like I don't want to question their value, or I don't want to question what they're doing, because obviously they know more than I do. But you have every right to question and say, okay, you know what? I'm not saying you don't deserve $10,000 for a website, but tell me what makes you different. Tell me, why I would go with you. What are you going to do for me that the 5,000 person won't do, that the 500 person, the other person won't do? And I think we have every right as a consumer, no matter where it is, to ask that question, and when we, as soon as we don't feel we're getting value. I mean, I should have done this. I always tell the story about the PR person I hired for my tanning company. Like, I kept asking her, like, but she's like, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. I mean, I don't feel good about this. Like, something's off, and just kept writing her checks. And so that's one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn, is that I feel like a cheapskate, or I feel like, oh, they're going to think I'm that pain in the ass client, which I really am probably one of the most easygoing people in the world on most things, but I have high expectations too. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be up in your face. I want to believe you're doing what you're doing, but you need to be doing what you're doing for me to back off. So I think it's really important that when something seems off, you have every right to ask the questions and, step in there.
Not just right. I mean, you have to do that. You have to do that to have a successful business, to have a successful life. Like, you have to be your own advocate. Like, for doctors, for business, for anybody that you're paying, everybody, the world works for you. So speak up when something's not working out.
I was also going to add too, I mean, you had a really good point, and I don't know if this is obvious to most people. I hope it would be, but like being able to call on that person later on down the road when you do need the help, or it's like a quick fix or whatever, just because everything is always changing in web all the time. So.
Yeah, and that is why you see with these plugins or things that you purchase, you see there's like a year contract with it, or and that should be in your, like, what is the follow-up time? You should look for that when you're signing a contract. And it's nothing is going to be blanket, no holds barred, because none of us have $200,000 solutions for our websites, right? Like, so nothing is going to be that, and even those have like a year. It's just like 1 year and you're out, and these are big solutions and teams working on them. So, but yeah, I can speak personally, and I gave a year, and I also gave like learning time to teach you how to do whatever you need to learn to do to keep your site afloat. So like, I would look for that in a developer, designer, and ask them, be like, are you just going to hand this to me like this, or is there some type of consult afterwards where I understand, where you can show me everything that you've done and how to, and whether if you have a blog, if you have a podcast, so here you go. If you have a blog, or a podcast or a video cast, you want to be able that they can incorporate RSS feeds into your website, and you just need to discuss like how long out are they going to be officially supporting, and then hopefully they're a good person and want you to be happy regardless. And kind of dive in and be like, hey, oh, this is what's wrong. I can fix this in a minute, or this is, or say have in your contract. I had in a lot of my contracts, okay, anything you need beyond this point, it is this amount per hour, and then I would break it down into 20-minute sessions, because a lot of things don't even take an hour, and I was expensive by the hour. So you have a lot of developers that'll do that and just be like, okay, we can work something out there.
So I'm getting reminded of, and this is a little bit off topic, but I was refinancing my house, I don't know, several years ago, and I have rental properties. I've gone through housing purchases and so many loans, it's not even funny. And my friend recommended this chick to me, and I had a bad feeling from the get-go, and it was the worst closing experience. And I really do consider myself pretty easygoing, and I remember I was in Minneapolis, and I'm screaming at this woman. It was taking 2 months to do a refinance, and she had called me when I was in Minneapolis and said, this isn't going to happen. And I screamed. I said, you better get somebody to this hotel right now. This thing better close. Like, I freaked out. Should have ran. I should have ran so far away it wasn't even funny. But I'm like, you know what? They're getting me a good loan. This mortgage company, like, I literally was on the phone with them a couple weeks ago, and I said, can you please sell my loan? Like, please, because I've got a really good rate. I don't want to refinance, but I've paid extra every month. I could tell you horror stories. I paid extra every month on my loan. Got a letter in the mail that they were foreclosing on me. And when I called them, I'm like, what is happening? Oh my God, I was like shaking. They're like, oh, just a mistake. Don't worry about it. I'm like, just a mistake. And then I had like hail damage. And it's been a year, and they've like pretty much made the roofer sign over their firstborn child, and they still haven't given me a check. And then I got a letter from them in the mail saying, we see your roof hasn't been fixed. What's going on? And I wrote them a letter. I said, are you effing kidding me? Literally, I said, you are the biggest, like, I just wrote this letter, and I said, I hate you. You are the worst company. Snow is probably like somewhere. And I'm like, I hate working with you. You are the worst company ever. No, it's not Wells Fargo. It's SWBC. Never go. I'll shout them out. Never go with SWBC.
Well, we're not. I hate Wells Fargo too. Sorry.
Well, I had them for a long time on one of my houses, and they were. But I've heard horror stories. But it's just that gut feeling. I never should have done it in the first place. I never should have done it. I should have just like said this. I can't stand this girl, but you think the loan officer is going to be different, but it's just with everything that we do. You have a right as a consumer to not feel good about something, to walk away, or most of the time you'll probably end up paying a price. It's like making a relationship fit that is just not working out, but you keep forcing it, and it's just such a lesson learned. Chandra's going to do something here. I see that.
Yes, I can't, because I cannot agree with you more. I can't.
Well, but yeah, I agree. So I hear we have requests already over about the deodorant, Chandra, in the group. So bit.ly/no-business, KNOW, if you want to get your hands on that deodorant recipe.
Must do it immediately after we get off.
I was laughing. I'm like, who cares? Let's just not even talk about business anymore or web design. Let's just talk about. We'll make this a show about all the things you could do with coconut oil. I swear to God, we could probably do
coconut oil show.
Yeah.
The coconut oil show.
Great recipes, and it has SPF 4 in it naturally.
Oh, I thought it was 10.
No, it's not that high.
Okay. Wow.
Raspberry
we could
oil.
just do like our own specialties. So you could bring the makeup recipes. I'll bring the cocktail recipes. Erin, what are you gonna bring? Dog information?
I was gonna say I don't. That's what somebody asked. Like there was a post in the moms group, and they're like, "What do I do if my kids are biting?" I'm like, "I can tell you what to do with a dog, but I don't think you're gonna do that with your kid."
Oh my gosh! Spray them.
Yeah, exactly. Spray them with a water bottle.
Oh my gosh.
Horrible. All right. Well, on that note, I think we will call it a night. Chandra, thank you so much for the wealth of information. I think this is such an important topic because so many people,
Yeah.
you get excited, your business is doing good, you want to make that next investment, and things start going wrong. So, kind of a buzzkill. So, anyway, all right. So, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, good night. And I'll really try to get some links that can help you guys out that don't know the back end of stuff that you can just kind of like that'll help you out. That and start working on my Yelp for developers and designers.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining, as always.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.